Alright guys, I have this crazy video of a guy deadlifting, and I don't know if this is AI or it's actually a real human being who's built like Gru from Despicable Me. But let's break it down. Why is it so easy for him to deadlift? Obviously, we can all see that he has extremely long arms, which makes it easy for him to lift the barbell off the ground. And he barely has to lift the barbell like 5 inches off the ground, and the lift is completed. At the same time, his torso is so short that locking out his hips becomes really easy. He does not have to really bend forward and then stand all the way up. And having long legs conventionally is not good when you're deadlifting, because the longer your legs are, the more you have to bend your knees and then stand up all the way up. But sumo deadlift, that's why some people call it cheating. Technically, it's not cheating, it's just a different lift altogether. It involves more of your quads compared to hamstrings. When you space your long legs out like that, it makes it easier for you to stand tall, and you don't really have to fight against your natural leverage. And that's what makes deadlifting easier for this guy. And typically, the guys who are the best in the world at deadlifting have short torso, short legs, and long arms. That's the way it is. Here's an example for someone who has the best genetics for deadlift. Lamar Gant deadlifted 634 pounds while weighing just 123 pounds. Let that sink in.
34. If he pulls this will be the greatest pound-for-pound deadlift ever made, and he has done it.
You see what I mean? Super long arms, short torso.
Did it. Look at the length of the arms.
But what about other lifts? What do you think would be the perfect genetics to bench press? When it comes to bench pressing, having long arms is actually a huge disadvantage, because the shorter your arms are, the lesser of a distance that you have to cover from the bar moving up from your chest to lockout. As simple as that. And the longer your arms are, the more instability it causes at lockout, because the barbell will feel like it's wobbling. And that's another thing to consider, which is why typically spacing out your hands to get a wider grip makes it easier to bench press heavier. Does that make sense? Now, here's another thing. When you bench press, you want to have a broader shoulder and a wider torso, because that simply gives you more stability and it makes it easier for your muscles to be able to press a heavier weight. Now, here's George Hackenschmidt, the inventor of the bench press. Notice how he has a wide and dense torso, along with muscular but short arms. That reduces the resistance of the barbell while he's pressing it up. And here's bench press world record holder Julius Maddox, who has unofficially bench pressed 796 pounds. Having a big rib cage and a lot of muscle on his frame reduces the depth that the barbell has to travel in order to complete the lift. And that's about bench press. What about doing a pull-up? Everybody talks about bench press and squats and deadlifts and all of that. Let's talk about some exercise that's typically not given as much attention as it should be given. Having long arms and a smaller torso and legs like an ape actually helps you pull up really effortlessly. This is quite the opposite of bench press. Now let's dial it back to humans. This is David Marchante. He set the world record by hanging 104.5 kilos on top of his body weight. That's unfathomable. Also, the lighter you are, the easier it is for you to do pull-ups or chin-ups, and the heavier you are, the more challenging it becomes. Now, let's talk about the last main lift that we haven't addressed yet. That is the squats. Arguably the most important exercise for your lower body. For the squats, having longer legs is actually a disadvantage, because your femur, your thigh bone, which is naturally the longest bone in your body anyways, but the more longer it is, the more it pushes your hip back and more it forces your knee to bend into a further angle such that it goes further beyond your toes, and that makes it more and more challenging. So a shorter torso and longer femur makes it really difficult for you to squat. So ideally, you want to have a shorter femur and a longer torso, which helps you stay more upright. And with a shorter torso, it becomes really difficult for you to stay upright, and you have to lean forward a bit more, which puts more strain onto your lower back. When you talk about the greatest lifter of all time, a lot of people will talk about Hafthor Bjornsson, the mountain from Game of Thrones, and rightfully so, he has the deadlift world record. But we are talking about the pound for pound strongest, and this is Sergey Fedosienko. What's even more impressive is he has all those stats standing at just 4 feet 9.5 inches and weighing 59 kilos. Truly the greatest lifter of our times. Also, if you really want to learn more about genetics and powerlifting, I highly recommend you go through this paper. But here's the most important thing that I need you to take away from this video. Your genetics cannot be changed. Whatever you're born with, you have to work with it. And it does not make you any better or worse than anyone else. Now, if your job is to compete in powerlifting and make money and make a living doing that, then these things matter. But other than that, whether you're a regular person who likes going to the gym and tries to be a bit better every single time that they train, like I do, or you're an athlete who's competing in a sport, it doesn't matter. You gotta work with what you're given. The bottom line is that nobody is perfect. One person might be at an advantage to do a deadlift, another person might be at an advantage to do a bench press, while somebody else might be better off at a squat. But we are all different in our own ways, and that's what makes us all special. All that matters is you do the best that you can. You try to be the best version of yourself. And that's what this channel is all about. Being the best version of yourself at every stage of life. And you do that, don't compare yourself with others. That's how you're going to be happy. That's all I got to say. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you watch this as well. And until next time, take care, stay hungry.